And it is, again, for the very reasons you stated, it is not a matter of public knowledge. It is not a part of the consciousness of American society and the voting public. And this reflex that has grown up over the course of particularly the last 30 years in this country, speaking only about America, that either political party, leaders, elected leaders of this country, would in any way seek to deny a larger body of public knowledge is to be contemptible. And the national media has too often worked as not only a willing but an eager accomplice, particularly to the left and the Democratic Party itself. I mean, when you look at the Washington Post, the New York Times, ABC, CBS, NBC, Evening News, I mean, these are effectively, house organs for the Democratic Party. And that's unfortunate because we need watchdogs on our fourth estate, not lapdogs. And unfortunately, most of the national liberal media is actually focused on performing that role of lapdog and helper rather than watchdog.
Well, that was my next issue. As the establishment media kind of circles the wagons with the political class, we're seeing Jay Rockefeller, we're seeing Lieberman, we're seeing all these statements, Cass Sunstein, about restricting the free press, fairness doctrine, taxes on what they call conspiracy theories, things that they, and Cass Sunstein, of course, the regulations are listed, not believing in man-made global warming. Well, we see Arianna Huffington saying, how do we shut down Fox News? How do we shut down Glenn Beck? We see 2 weeks ago in Politico, I don't know if you saw it, the chilling memos from the head of Media Matters saying we are going to guerrilla infiltrate with spies in organizations. We're going to destroy not just Fox News, but this list of conservative sites. And you go there, you're being demonized, I'm being demonized, Judge Napolitano. I mean, these people aren't what even you'd call a liberal. I mean, they're more like Joe Stalin or something. I mean, they really are authoritarian and scary.
They are authoritarian in outlook and I think in value structure, which makes them extraordinarily dangerous. Not necessarily to Fox News, but to the country. When media takes on a role that is utterly destructive in intent and purpose, and that is precisely what many of these advocacy organizations do, and they pretend to be some sort of watchdog organization, but they pretend to be performing that role when they are, in fact, advocacy and activist organizations. But the great thing, Alex, is that the American people are getting a very clear look at who, what they are, and what their designs are. That's healthy for the nation, and I'm delighted to see that light shine very brightly on who they are and what they're up to.
Well, I don't want to spend all our time on that group, but, I mean, they are 501c3, and I know mild libertarian groups who have their 501c3 jerked for just getting involved, in stating their opinion. How can they be a pure house organ of George Soros, openly calling for the end of free speech in America, and then be given 501c3? I mean, that is very discriminatory.
It is. It's at the very least curious, and the use of 501c3s in our society is something I think that ought to be looked at, irrespective of the ideology or the intent. We have become a nation of nonprofits that are starting to supplant, in many ways, to me, Alex, traditionally the functions of government, particularly at the local or county and state level. I worry less about the federal level, honestly, the national level. But we need to understand what the implications are for all of these nonprofits that have grown up over the years. And they've grown up, by the way, they number in the millions. Some of them with the very best of purposes, but the fact is we are diluting our system of government through those nonprofits, NGOs, and other entities that have been created. I'd much prefer people turn to government for the services that should be provided.
Well, isn't that an unfair playing field, too? I mean, the UN model is these NGOs. I mean, here's an example. I want your take on this. Thousands of waivers handed out to Fortune 500, but even smaller groups that have given campaign contributions to the Democrats and Obama. With its hundreds of thousands of employees, McDonald's gets a waiver on buying insurance for its employees. Sure. But if this stuff gets implemented, I've got to get insurance for all of my employees, and I will take part of their check to do it. So isn't that an unfair trade advantage that a hamburger place right next to McDonald's, a mom and pop, they've got to get insurance, but McDonald's doesn't? So if you go, pay money to the emperor, he then waves his wand and gives you an unfair trade advantage?
I don't think there's any question about it whatsoever. It is not only unfair, but so transparently patronage that it's nauseating. When you look at the principal beneficiary of these waivers, the United Auto Workers Union. What is the principal beneficiary of these waivers? You go beyond that, it's the supporters of this administration who received the greatest amount of money, which, by the way, wasn't even revealed publicly by the administration or the Democratic leadership in Obamacare. The principal beneficiary of the early retirement support program, which amounts to $5 billion, goes to the United Auto Workers Union. So, it just goes on and on.
Incredible. A lot of other questions in the limited time we've got left for you. What do you see coming up in this next election? We see the $40 billion cut. Ron Paul has come out and said that it was all basically stuff that had already been agreed to cut and what was left over from highway funds. He's even saying Ryan's budget isn't going to fix things. If we don't stop the banker bailouts and deal with what the Federal Reserve's doing, monetizing the debt and devaluing the currency, that all of this is window dressing. Lou Dobbs is a real financial expert, decades in the trenches. What's your view on what's happening with the budget?
Well, I had the opportunity to talk with a congressman 2 days ago, and we discussed exactly these issues, Alex. And the congressman does question whether or not any of this is sufficient, given that there are larger issues in his views, and of course, principal among those, the Federal Reserve and the banking system. And the reforms that are necessary, it's unquestionable that we need to reform our banking system, that we need to take a very strong look and reorganize, in my judgment, the Federal Reserve. But that is a long-term effort. It's going to take years to accomplish. What I am so pleased with is that Congressman Paul Ryan has come forward with the boldest, most effective, in my opinion, budget plan to deal with deficits. Not the national debt, but deficit in history. Unfortunately, that's the kind of plan that is necessary because we've got, as you know, the greatest debt and the most tremendous deficits in our history. But he has, with an opening stake, set the bar very high. And as we watched, the president couldn't come close to it with a rather feeble fiscal policy speech that he gave at George Washington University Wednesday.
Well, Lou, as you know, Kennedy in the one bracket cut taxes by 50% in 61, the other bracket 30-something percent, I forget the exact number, and tax receipts doubled. California's increased taxes, and their tax receipts are going down. They're not stupid. Obviously, Obama and these collectivists want to wreck the economy so they can come in as the saviors and get more people to basically beach themselves, on their system by wrecking it. And now we have this chilling statement by Geithner today at CNBC. It's also CNN Fox's reporting, saying that if they don't basically increase the budget and raise the taxes, that Republicans will be to blame for the U.S. defaulting. Right as 70% of the treasuries are now being monetized. I mean, this is this scares me that they're now positioning the Tea Party, i.e. Republicans and others, as being to blame for this. This is amazing. I mean, this shows me they think the default could be close.
Yeah, here's what it shows me, Alex. One, it shows me that our Treasury Secretary, Timothy Geithner, is somewhat limited both in his outlook toward the consequences of a decision that would be taken not to raise the debt. One. Two, it suggests to me that he has a relatively either limited knowledge of banking itself or the role of the federal government when it comes to the Treasury Department. There is no default is requisite or a logical conclusion to not raising the debt ceiling. Let me be very clear about that. there are choices to be made by the administration should the Congress elect not to raise the debt ceiling. None of those decisions require default. And anyone who says that it does is utterly and completely mistaken. And I would be delighted to have, step forward and explain themselves, because not a single person I respect with a knowledge of finance, public or corporate finance, will support that view.
Well, is it not
what's being spread by the media?
Mr. Dobbs, is it not a replay of what the central bankers did in October 2008 when they said, give us unlimited money or there'll be a depression? I mean, is this not a form of economic terrorism to threaten default, which itself will hurt the dollar to get their way?
Alex, I think that your point is a terrific one. I think any time a public official and a servant of the American people stands up in Washington, D.C. and says that Armageddon is the result of a public policy choice that is not the one they desire, everyone in the national media should be skeptical and point out that position and where it stands historically. That isn't what's happening with this national media. Our national media, the liberal media, tends to think it's responsible somehow to act as an instrument of the state. And that's unfortunate.
Lou, in closing, I wanted to ask you about inflation and then your view on Donald Trump. I thought he was just joking around and getting some attention and injecting some of his ideas, but more and more listening to him, I was listening to him last night, he really sounds like he's probably going to run. What's your take on that first and then inflation?
I think that Donald is having Donald is having a lot of fun, Alex. He is very entertaining, no question about it. I cannot, just as straightforward as I can be about this, I mean, I can't read the man. At first, like you, I thought, all right, the Donald's, he's kind of kidding around here. But the more time goes by, he seems to be digging deeper into the possibility of running. I do think that when he makes it clear he's going to announce on the last installment of The Apprentice, that I'm a little suspicious about what the outcome may be.
Absolutely. Well, if he did run, what's your overall view? He doesn't like NAFTA and GATT and things. What do you think about him?
First of all, he's a smart, he's an accomplished guy. I'm leery, forgive me for saying this, but I'm leery of billionaires who want to be in politics. That's not to say that I would support him if it turned out he was the candidate. I'm just simply saying to me, billionaires have got a higher bar because, I'm a little suspicious of it, and I'm the power that they already have, let alone what they would bring to the office. That's just me.
Very briefly, what's your view on him saying, show the original birth certificate, not just the receipt of the birth certificate?
Well, it's interesting. I believe there's no question that Barack Obama is a citizen of the United States. What I'm curious about is obviously Donald Trump's expressed. Why not just get rid of this nonsense and present a birth certificate and be done with it? That's the intriguing political question for me. But I think that frankly, when we're looking at $14 trillion in national debt, think about this: $1.7 trillion in deficits when we've got a government that is dysfunctional, when we have our troops deployed all around the world, engaged in a global fight against terror. When we've got men and women dying, I think we've got bigger issues to take on.
Lastly, the head of Walmart CEOs come out and said inflation is going to be, quote, serious. We're already seeing it in oil, gold, silver, other commodities. Right. And then the federal government's telling us there's no inflation problem at all. What's your take on that in closing?
Very quickly, inflation is as big a problem as we permit it to be. The fact that this president comes out with an energy plan 5 weeks ago doesn't even mention the current high prices of gasoline and crude oil. It doesn't indicate any willingness to confront OPEC, which is a cartel, to make certain these prices don't move higher, get them off the back of the American working man and woman is unconscionable. So I think inflation could be a problem, but it'll be a failure of leadership, not an economic result.
Sure, as Obama moves to also block more discovery and production of oil here domestically. Lou Dobbs, lou-dobbs.com. Thank you for spending so much time with us, and we'll be listening to you on the radio tonight.
Always good to talk with you, Alex. Thanks.
All right, thank you. There goes